Hello, I'm Eliza Alqassar and I'm the Historic and Built Environment Manager at Buckinghamshire Council. I'm going to talk to you about the Buckinghamshire Local Heritage List. Buckinghamshire has a rich heritage and a large number of heritage assets that have the benefit of statutory protection and designation. Statutory listing and designation is assessed nationally and requires heritage assets to achieve a very high threshold to meet the national criteria. Examples of statutory listing that you've probably heard of are Grade 1, Grade 2 star and Grade 2 buildings, scheduled monuments, and registered parks and gardens. However, there are a large number of locally important heritage assets, which contribute positively to the local character and identity of Buckinghamshire, and which are really valued by local people, which sometimes have little or no protection, and over time they can be changed or lost. The government have recognised this problem and have made funds available to 22 local authorities, including Buckinghamshire, as part of a national initiative to improve the provision and standard of locally held lists of non-designated heritage assets, or NDHAs. So what sort of NDHAs could go on a local heritage list? Well, all kinds of heritage assets can be considered for local listing. These might include historic buildings or particularly important modern buildings, or those demonstrating local building styles. At the top right there, you can see the Whitchurch walls in Haddenham, which is a particularly local building tradition. We also have a lot of brick and flint buildings in the Chilterns, as demonstrated on the bottom right. And sometimes more modern buildings can be captured for their real character too, like these examples in Beaconsfield. We're also looking to include archaeological sites on the Buckinghamshire Local Heritage List. Now, this might include upstanding earthworks which are visible to the naked eye, or buried archaeological remains. The picture on the right is an aerial photograph of the village of Ludgershall. Now, you should just be able to make out the lines of the medieval ridge and furrow surrounding the village. These are exactly the sort of earthwork remains preserved under pasture that we'd like to capture on the Local Heritage List. We also have a number of World War I practice trenches in Buckinghamshire, like these examples on the left, which survive in Pullings Hill Wood. As well as earthworks, which you can visibly see, we're concerned to capture some of the buried archaeology too. Like this example on the bottom left, there are a number of sites where important remains have been found and then left and preserved in situ. These could also go onto a local heritage list. We're looking to capture landscape features too, historic or modern parks and gardens, or individual elements within them. On the bottom right there, you can see the formal gardens at Danesfield House in Medmenham. And on the left, we have a more modern landscape at the Rye in High Wycombe. And sometimes within Parkland, you come across unusual features, like this pump house at Aston Clinton Park, which is exactly the sort of feature we want to capture on a local heritage list. Finally, we're also looking to include public works of art, monuments, and street furniture, sometimes even signage and surfacing where it's particularly special. Here we have two examples of sculptures in Aylesbury, the Ronnie Barker sculpture and the Axis sculpture in Vale Park. But let's not forget street furniture too, which gives Buckinghamshire its real identity, such as this lovely little postbox in the middle. So why are we doing this? What is the purpose of a local heritage list? Well, as you can see, the local heritage list seeks to identify locally significant assets and to celebrate their contribution to local identity and character. It's important to note that the identification of an asset does not alter existing permitted development rights. However, it does enable change to be managed through the planning process and where relevant to ensure that significance is protected. Local listing will provide improved clarity for owners and all interested parties because significance will be identified as part of the assessment process. And once adopted, the list will be published on the Council's website and the Historic Environment Record. Assets will then be afforded consideration in the planning process under the National Planning Policy Framework, paragraph 197, and will help to inform future local policies and the creation of neighbourhood plans. So what are the aims of the Buckinghamshire Local Heritage List project? Well, the scope and the aims of the project are as follows. Firstly, we want to create a single unified local list for the new unitary council. Buckinghamshire is made up of 5 legacy councils, some of which did already have local heritage lists and some didn't. So our first job is to pull together all the information we have from those existing local lists and put it into one list for assessment. Secondly, we want to respond to and assess the local heritage assets and places nominated by the people of Buckinghamshire. And this is a really important element of the project because we want people to be able to feed into this process and nominate what is important to them. Thirdly, we're looking at things geographically. Our audit of the heritage assets currently identified as having local importance indicates that we have very few known within the East or Chiltern area of the county. And as such, a particular effort will be made to look at this particular part of the county. Finally, we're taking a thematic approach. And this year we've decided to look at the importance of Rothschild's buildings and estate buildings in general to the local identity and character across the county. Nominated heritage assets will have to fulfil at least one of the following criteria. They may have to be assets which are visually illustrative of their period, or which have aesthetic value, or which are innovative in their construction or design. They may be assets which provide good insight into past human activity. They may be assets which have historic associations, for example, with notable figures, such as architects, designers, or people who were influential in particular events, or assets which are demonstrative of social history. Finally, they may be assets which are valued by the community, relate well to local character, or which include regional materials or construction methods. We will, of course, be following national guidance, and selection will be supported by evidence in line with Historic England's detailed assessment criteria as laid out in their Historic England Advice Note 7. Now, this looks at various elements of assessment, including age, rarity, architectural and artistic interest, group value, archaeological interest, historic interest, and landmark status. So how can you find out more about Buckinghamshire's local heritage list? Well, we're hoping to launch the project this summer, and we will be launching a new local heritage list platform in early August. Now, this is going to look something like our Buckinghamshire Heritage Portal, which already exists, and you can see illustrated there. We'll be asking members of the public to come forward and nominate candidate sites for us using this portal. They'll be able to log in, click on a map, and identify which site they want to nominate. We're appointing a local heritage list project officer to lead this project and to work with volunteers. We're particularly keen to attract volunteers who can get involved with undertaking site visits, to taking photographs, assessing heritage assets for us, and helping with data entry into the local heritage list platform. To promote the project, we'll be delivering a number of online talks and blogs as part of the Festival of Archaeology this July and the Heritage Open Days in September. We're also planning a series of online lectures throughout the autumn, and we'll attend conferences and any other events we're invited to. So please get in touch if you'd like to find out more. You can email her@buckinghamshire.gov.uk or look out for press releases and communications this summer where we'll be launching the project. Thank you.